Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening around the world. My name is Blackjack. Welcome back to the channel. As always, today I have a deck tech for you. If you're interested in having me put a deck together for you and make a video about it, or possibly give you some ideas for changes to a deck you're trying to tweak, in the comment section down below, I'm looking for any of the following metrics: a commander, a theme, a budget, any personal restrictions, and any pet cards that you have. That being said, today we're looking at a deck that I made for myself. This is called Isshin, Two Heavens as One. I think over the years that I've been playing Commander, I find myself enjoying Mardu as one of the best color combinations. It can kind of do everything that I personally love to do. This one in particular, he's a 3/4, 3 mana. If a creature attacking causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, it triggers an additional time. So obviously this deck is going to be built around attacking people a lot and then getting triggered abilities twice. We have a massive creature suite here. All of them are going to be synergistic probably in some way with our commander. We have Adeline, which Adeline possibly makes bros, and we'll obviously have that happen twice. Anik, Enoch, Strike Leader. Whenever we attack with this creature and our commander, we get to make creatures. We get to do that twice, and then we'd also be able to sacrifice this to give our tokens indestructible. We are going to be making a lot of tokens in this deck. Alesha, who laughs at fate, allows us to get creatures out of our graveyard, and then whenever it attacks, we get to put 1/1 counters on it, which would be doubled. Anam Pakal, whenever you attack with one or more non-gnomes, you put a 1/1 counter on it and then create X gnomes. So the first turn you attack with this and you have your commander out, you get to attack, you get to put a 1/1 counter on it, and then you get to make one gnome, and then you immediately put another counter on it, and then you get to make two gnomes. So you could see how this would get out of hand pretty fast. We have two different Aurelias. We have Aurelia, the Law Above. Whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures, you draw a card. Whenever you attack with 5 or more creatures, you deal 3 damage to each of your opponents and gain 3 life. Doing either one of those things twice is going to be great for us. Aurelia, the War Leader, gives us an extra combat step. Battle Angels of Tyr has Myriad. Plus, when it deals combat damage to a player, we draw a card if they have more cards in hand. We create a treasure token if they have more lands, and we gain life if they have more life. Brutal Horde Chief is a great way to just deal a ton of damage in one go. Whenever a creature you control attacks, defending player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. And remember, if we have our commander out, that's going to happen twice for each creature. So if we have this, our commander, and 4 tokens, that's going to be 6 creatures attacking. So that's going to be 12 points of life loss just for that attack. Caesar, Legion's Emperor, whenever you attack, you get to do a multitude of things. You can make guys, you can draw cards, or you can deal damage. Captain Lannery Storm makes us mana. Commissaire, I'm not going to try to pronounce that. Whenever it attacks, people lose life, and then you can also pay 2 to sack another creature to gain 2 life and draw a card. So there are going to be times where we want to utilize all these 1/1s, gnomes and gnoblins and soldiers that we have sitting around in order to get some more cards in our hand. Atali, I mean, obviously it had to be in here. You get to attack. If you ever get to do this twice, you are just doing it. You're doing the thing. You're having the most fun you can possibly have. Firemane Commando is another way for us to draw cards. Goldspan Dragon makes mana. Hanwar Garrison, we also have the battlements. It can make a bunch of guys, and then when it flips, it can make even more guys that are bigger. Hellrider is essentially a second Brutal Horde Chief and is going to be a way to really close the game out quickly. Hero of Bladehold is going to be a good way for us to make guys. Plus, it has Battle Cry, which would happen twice. So it's essentially a self-contained double anthem effect. Iroas, God of Victory, protects all of our guys while they're attacking. Kazakar is a cool way for us to tap creatures and goad them. Krenko makes an army on his own. Layla gets us cards off the top. Leonin makes lifelinking guys. Siegebreaker, this exiles creatures when this creature enters, exile up to one other target creature until this creature leaves. And then when you attack, you get to make that creature, which you get to do twice. We have Mishra, claimed by Gix. So whenever you attack, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of creatures. If this and Phyrexian Dragon Engine are attacking and you own and control them, you can meld it. Phyrexian Dragon Engine was 100% supposed to be in here, so let's add that right now. I have failed you all. Let's cut Voice of Victory. So, Phyrexian Dragon Engine, when it enters, you can discard your hand and then draw 3 cards. But if you are able to flip this, obviously, I'm not going to read the whole card to you. I'll let you read it, but this is kind of like if you've seen my deck techs in the past and you watched my white-blue Shorakai deck where my whole game plan is to make the big flip card Urza Planeswalker. I'm trying to do the same thing here. Making Mishra Lost to Phyrexia would just be amazing. So that's kind of like the secret game plan I have going on. Myrel, Shield of Argiv. So we are able to keep people from casting and activating things, and then when it attacks, it again makes creatures. Othari, when it attacks, it makes creatures. If you haven't noticed the theme yet, I always like having cards that are Army in a Can, that are one-off, must deal with creatures. I'm trying to make sure that almost every creature that we play is able to generate a respectable board state on its own, so that way you don't have to commit your entire hand worth of creatures, 5, 6, 7 creatures on the battlefield before a board wipe happens. Ideally, you're going to have your commander out, maybe Anam Pakel, and maybe Captain Lannery Storm. And to me, that's going to generate enough of an army and a board state that people are going to have to board wipe you already. Sun Titan, one of my favorite Titans in all of Magic. Being able to attack and get a permanent 3 CMC or less back is good enough in almost all of my personal white decks. In here, being able to do that twice is amazing. Sorceries, Blasphemous Act and Dam, 2 of our best removals that we have access to. Night's Whisper and Painful Truths are consistent card draw that we do need in a deck like this. Ruinous Ultimatum, not at all synergistic, but if you do have the mana and you do cast it, it feels pretty damn good, so I always put it in my Mardu decks just to try to live the dream. Vandal Blast, excuse me, just a good way to hit all the artifacts. Instance, we are going to try to save our board as often as possible, even though you're only committing 4 or 5 creatures at a time. That's still a substantial amount, and you still would like to protect them. So in order to do that, we have Akroma's Will, Clever Concealment, Dawn's Truce, Flare of Fortitude, and Flawless Maneuver. So we essentially have 5 ways to counter a board wipe, and that's going to be really important to protect our guys. Akroma's Will also acts as a win condition at the same time because it can give all of our guys flying, vigilance, lifelink, double strike, pro all colors, indestructible. It's the best out of all of these, and it's a great way to just end the game on the spot. Swords to Plowshares, it's obvious. Wear and Tear is one of my favorite in these colors. It's basically a 2-for-1, and I always love 2-for-1s. Destroying an artifact and an enchantment for 3 mana is definitely worth it. Artifacts. So for ramp package, we have Arcane Signet, Boros Signet, Felwar Stone, Mind Stone, Orzhov Signet, Rakdos Signet, Soul Ring, Talisman, Talisman, Talisman. So 10 pieces up, 10 pieces down. As always, I like to be consistent with my ramp to make sure that my games are always going to I'm always going to have decent games. I'm not going to have games where I'm missing mana or I'm missing land drops or I don't have enough ramp pieces. I want to make sure I hit a critical mass of them every single game so I can always play the cards in my hand and have fun. Dolmen Gate is basically a second Iroas. It protects our creatures from dealing or being dealt damage when they attack. Glimmer Lens is a way for us to draw cards. Horn of the Mark is another way for us to draw cards. We have Skull Clamp, so again, if you have some Gnomes and Gnoblins and Soldiers sitting around and you don't have a lot of cards in hand, get rid of them. Sacrifice them and draw some and get your hand built back up to a place where you're happy. Sword of the Animist is a double attack trigger where we can get 2 lands into play. Finally, we have Enchantments, Black Market Connections, and Phyrexian Arena. If you've watched my other deck decks, you know I try to jam these in pretty much all of my black decks. It's just consistent card draw, and they're not nearly as good as they once were, but for me, they're good enough. Chivalric Alliance is a way for us to draw cards. And then Windcrag Siege. It's a way for us to basically do another Isshin, so we get another attack trigger. So if you have this and your commander out, you're essentially getting 3 attack triggers for every one that happens. 37 lands, pretty par for the course. Arena of Glory is noteworthy. Bojuka Bog, I try to jam in all of my black decks. We do have the other half of the Hanwar here. Minas Tirith is a good card draw piece. Requus Bivouac, when it attacks, you can get 2 triggers out of it, which is why it's here. And then Slayer Stronghold is a good way to give haste. Vault of the Archangel is an awesome way for us to have a combat trick on board and give everything Death Touch and lifelink until end of turn. This deck is by no means a bracket 4, probably not even really a bracket 3 because I don't think it has any game changers. I build most of my decks to be bracket 2 these days. If you wanted to bring it up to bracket 3, I would definitely look at cards like Teferi's Protection. I would look at cards like Smothering Tithe, maybe a tutor or 2, and you could easily start to tune this up to a higher bracket. But I think Isshin does a good job of living and thriving in bracket 2 alongside higher tier precons that have been upgraded or tribal decks or something like that. So if you're interested, give it a go, and I think you're going to have a great time. As always, thank you so much for watching, and Godspeed.